Welcome into today's edition of gPanel Office Hours. The purpose of these is to help you uh, get deeper knowledge of gPanel. If you are a regular user, we hope to show you things that maybe you haven't tried yet and to give you a tutorial and a script that you can follow to do them yourself. If you are someone new, and we always know that there's a few of you here who are just checking out gPanel, then we hope that we can show you some of what it's capable of and give you some ideas about how it can help your organization and help you manage your own Google Workspace instance and your users. So we follow the same sort of format on these. We'll introduce all of our presenters and the topic, and then we're going to spend a minute or two talking about what's new, what's been added to gPanel in the last month since the last one that we've had here. And then, as we do every month, we're going to go in depth. We're going to do a workshop style presentation on one particular topic. So today we're going to talk about automation, which it's one particular topic, but it's a whole big bottle of yarn. And then we're going to do a live Q&A at the end. As always, we do these every month, and the entire backlog, I think this is the 9th or 10th one that we've done. The entire backlog is available on the URL that you see on the page there, promevo.com/gpanel-office-hours. You can go and view any of them. They're all free. You don't even have to sign up to view the previous ones. You can register for our future webinars. Again, we do these every month. You can sign up for the whole thing, and we'll send you a notification when it's ready to go live, and it'll have the link in your inbox automatically. You don't have to sign up for each one. With that being said, these are our presenters for the day. You guys are all familiar with Mark. Mark is well known. He is our most common presenter here on gPanel Office Hours. And if there is a gPanel guru at Promevo, it is definitely him. And we're really glad to have him. Also today, someone that you might also be familiar with is Wes. He's going to be hiding behind the scenes. We're going to get him on camera for one of these webinars pretty soon, but for today, he's going to be helping out behind the scenes, just keeping an eye on the Q&A. We may bring him in to chime in on a couple of questions if it seems appropriate. And then, of course, my name is Brandon. I am your host and the director of marketing at Promevo. Who is Promevo? We are a Google sales service and build partner. We are a premier partner. We help thousands of companies with all of their Google Cloud needs. And that's everything from Google Workspace, that's Google Chrome and like Chromebooks, your Meet kits, all of your your Chrome enabled devices. We help with all of that. Google Cloud Platform, we have developers. We'll help you migrate into Google Cloud. We'll help you migrate into Google Workspace. We've been in the Google business for over 20 years and are one of the largest partners. And we work with companies across a broad spectrum, everything from small businesses to startups to well-established giant enterprises and companies that you've all heard of. And as you can see down at the bottom, we have a number of partners that we work with as well. And they help with everything from training to migrations to AppSheet to basically Cameo's cool. They let you do basically any sort of like Windows or Mac apps you can run on Chromebooks, Linux apps. So yeah, basically we help you with all of your Google Cloud needs. Specifically though, gPanel is our own proprietary Google Workspace user management and reporting tool. Essentially, you've got your workspace and you've got Google Admin Console that helps you do a lot of things, and gPanel is the next level beyond that. And that's a major part of it is what we're going to talk about today is being able to automate a number of functions like onboarding and decommissioning and adding users to groups. We also have deep reporting, deep user management functions. I won't read through every one of these, but essentially everything that happens within your Google Workspace, you now have omniscience over and the ability to control and observe and report on everything that happens in there. And every day we're adding new stuff to it. Every day we're making more advancements to the tool. So to just talk about the latest, we're in the process of rolling out what we're calling Rules Engine, and it's essentially triggered automations and being able to For example, take an occurrence that happens within your drive and to be able to have that function whenever it happens, to have that trigger a number of automated actions and functions that happen downstream. We're investing a lot in it. It's the main thing that we're working on at the moment. If you are curious about it, we're not going to go into it on this one, but if you're curious about it, we go pretty in depth on it in last month's office hours webinar. So there's a link. If you use that link that we showed at the very beginning, gPanel office hours, that will take you to all of our on-demand ones. Our CTO went through Rules Engine pretty in depth on the last one, and some of the stuff that you can do with it, especially in conjunction with the gPanel API, is mind-blowing. The way that you can trigger automations and the way that you can trigger actions based on other user actions or based on like timing. So we won't go into it here. It's obviously a big part of automation. And of course, the major function, the major topic of this webinar is automation, but we're going to keep the rules engine. We're going to give it its own dedicated webinar. So for those of you who are signed up for all the office hours, we are going to take the one in August, which I believe was set to was set to focus on contact sync. We're now going to change that one over and make an in-depth session on the rules engine. So those of you that have already signed up for that one, you'll notice that change. Those of you who aren't signed up for that one and you want to learn all about the gPanel rules automation, be sure that you sign up there. And again, go back to May's webinar for an on-demand preview and a good discussion about where that particular function is going. That brings us to today's topic, and this is where I'm going to stop talking because no one wants to hear from me. You guys want to hear from Mark. Mark is going to discuss all the automation functions that are available in gPanel.
Thanks so much, Brandon. And thank you all for being here. I am excited to go over a few modules and automation that we haven't really talked about before, or maybe we just talked about a little bit. But I'd like to focus in today on a few things you can do. We're going to be going over the drive sweep automation, contact syncs, and signature templates. The drive sweep module in gPanel gives you the ability to change the ownership of a folder and all of its contents to the owner of the drive sweep folder. I will go over that in a little bit. Next, we have the contact sync tool. And this is where you're able to select a source contact label and then recreate it under another user's contacts. And then lastly, we'll be talking about the signature templates, and that this is the tool that you can use to create custom Gmail signature templates and then push them out to your users. Here are some use cases, some examples of times you might be needing each of these tools. For the drive sweep, one use case is when you offboard a user, one of the common offboarding procedures that you can do is transferring their drive data to another person, perhaps their manager. We actually have that as part of our decommissioning automation, one of the actions. But when you do that, when you transfer somebody's drive to another user, their entire drive shows up as a folder in the recipient's drive, and the contents within that folder, the nested folders, and all of the different documents, sheets, and so forth, most likely they will not be all owned by the same person. They're going to be owned by various people. One thing you can do is create a drive sweep folder for your manager, and he would be able to drop that folder in there. Anything within that folder itself and all of its contents will change ownership to the owner of the drive sweep, which in this case would be the manager. So that's one use case where you can use it, but there's several more different times where it could be useful. Next, we'll go over the contact sync example. In this example, you may have your research team that has collected a number of different contact information from a number of different key collaborators all into one contact label, or sometimes they're called the contact group. And they maybe have asked that you share this group of contacts with another person or several people. Basically recreate that label in somebody else's contacts. And with the contact sync tool, you're able to do that. And it's not just a copy, it's a sync. So any changes made will be to any of the contacts within that label. Those changes will sync up automatically to the recipients. And then lastly, we'll go over signature templates and the use cases. There's a lot of use cases, but for signature templates, say your marketing team has asked their signature templates be updated to include images and links to complement their new advertising campaign. So we're going to show you how to go ahead and do that so you can take an existing contact or signature template. I apologize. An existing signature template, or we'll just create one from scratch and we'll show you how to include images, links, and then to push that out to a certain group of people, in this case, the marketing team. All right. And with that, we're going to switch over to a live demo of gPanel. All right. So if this is your first time here, this is the gPanel homepage. We start you off on the user management screen. And the tools we're going to be talking about are actually located. The first one, the drive sweep tool, is located in the drive section here. When you click on there and expand, just click on drive sweep. So in this case, here is a list of drive sweeps that are already underway. We have a column for the name. In this case, this one was left blank. We have the owner of the drive sweep. That would be the source person. And then the drive sweep link. You can click on these three dots to edit the existing drive sweeps. But in this case, we're going to create a brand new one by clicking on the plus sign in the upper right here. It's going to open up a new drive sweep wizard. You'll have to give it a name. So I'll just call this Mark Sweep. It's nice to fill in a description, but not necessary. After you've named it, go from general down to folder. And here's where you can specify the user that's going to be owning this drive sweep. For an example, let me first pause here and switch over to the drive of one of our users. So you can see this user has drive and it's got this person has several different files, or we have a presentation, a document, and some sheets. And the owners of these items, they're various owners. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a drive sweep folder here and move everything in, or they'll have the ability to move everything in. So we're going to target that user. That would be this user. So typically you would see the entire drive structure there. But we're going to go ahead and move on. We're just going to create a new drive sweep folder here. To do that, we want to specify the location we're going to create it in. That's going to be in their My Drive. And we're going to go ahead and hit add to folder. We're going to give it a name. We're just going to call this one, just to make it easy, sweep, just to identify it. Not sure if I spelled that right. Okay. And what's going to happen is under My Drive, there's now going to be two folders, folder 1 and sweep. You can see there. And let me see if it's synced up. Okay. We're going to go to their My Drive. And you can see that the sweeps folder was automatically created. So now all this user would need to do is take a folder and move it into the sweep folder. And ownership of that folder and everything within it will start changing over to this target user. So in that way, you can imagine if there was a very long folder structure with nested folders, several different docs, and everything's owned by various people, it will easily change that for you just in minutes, basically. The bigger the folder, the longer it'll take for everything to move over. So there is some time involved. And the drive sweep folder updates every 2 hours. So they can continue to add things to the drive sweep folder until they're ready. And then when everything's been changed over to all the ownership's been changed over, you can actually head back here and then disable your drive sweep and turn it off. So that is the drive sweep tool. Next, we're going to go into the contact sync tool. Contact sync is located in the directory section. We've got contact sync here. And let me bring up my example. What Contact Sync is doing is it's taking your Google contacts from contacts.google.com and it's taking a look inside this person's contacts folder. And it's going to give us the ability to take any of their labels here that they've created and sync it out to one or more users. So I can take a folder here. In this case, we're going to be taking the research folder here, and we're going to be sharing it with the marketing group. Right now, the marketing group has only one member, and it's this person. And so the expected result would be that the label gets recreated here. So let's go through the procedure now. Head back to gPanel. Oh, before I start, here's the list of contact syncs that have already been created. Some are running and some are not running. This first column is the name of the sync that you name it. The second column is a description. We do encourage writing a description, although we haven't done it in any of these cases. This column here, very important. This is the source user. So this is the user that you're going to be taking the initial contacts from. You can see in this case, there's an email address. We know it's a user. In this second case, it says directory contacts. There are a number of different contact syncs. Directory contacts is one of them, and I'll explain that in just a minute. The group to sync, this would be the particular label or contact group that's within this person's folder. So in this case, it's the all contacts label from this source user. And in this case, directory contacts, it's always going to be just your full directory. So it'll never give you anything more specific. Your targets, these are the users who are being targeted to have this folder copied and then synced into their contacts. And this is the last time it was run. And this is if it's going to be running on a schedule or not. We're going to be creating a new one. So we're going to hit add in the upper right. We're going to go through the wizard here. We're going to go ahead and give this a name. We're going to call this research, but you can name it whatever you'd like. This second section, the contact sync type, gives you the option of 3 types of contact syncs. Initially, there are 2. There's personal contact syncs, where, as I've described, you can grab a contact group from your source and then pass it on to your recipients, and any changes made at the source contact label will be synced over to the recipients. However, the personal contacts doesn't not work the other way around. So if a recipient were to make a change, the change would only happen in their Google contacts, but it wouldn't be synced up to the source or any other users. That would be actually done with the bidirectional contact sync. So the bidirectional contact sync gives you that added ability where the sync can happen in both directions if you so configure it that way. You have the option to have that or not. You can choose to have your recipients make changes in their Google contacts, and those changes sync out to the source contact and everyone else in the contact group. In order to access the bidirectional contact sync, you need to, this is one of our Promevo labs. You'd have to enable the lab first, and that's located in the administration section under labs. So once you've enabled it, you'll have access to this bidirectional contact sync. And then the last type of sync is a directory contact sync. So this is where you would be able to configure all of the directory contacts into one label and then create it and sync it up to a target user. All right, for this example, we're just going to make a personal contact sync. The other ones you configure very similar to this. The target group name, if you leave this blank, what this is the name of the label. So for our example, we're going to be using research project demo is the full name. If you leave it blank, it's going to recreate that same label with that same name in your target users page. Or you can name it something else. You can name it whatever you'd like. I'll just go ahead and leave it blank so it's not so confusing. The next one is you'll have the ability to add this to my contacts. And then you'll also have the additional ability to schedule this to run. If you click on it, you'll see we have an extra scheduler up there. So I'm going to leave that on so we can see what that looks like. You can have that run on a schedule, like I said. And then the ability to put in a description, which we highly recommend, so that when you come back to these contact syncs in the future, you have some idea how you configure this. So this is for you. Next, here we'll be specifying the source. And in this case, my source will be my own account. So let me grab this. It does not have to be your own account. It could be any user account in your workspace. And the label that I'm going to be choosing here, if you click on the drop down, it's going to show me all of the labels that I can sync over. The one I want is called Research Project Demo. And so that's the label that I want to recreate in my target user. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Now we specify the target user. In this case, I believe it was the research or marketing company, I cannot remember, or team. So I'm going to actually choose groups. Once again, you can choose one or multiple users. Let me hit browse there. Have your option. Groups, options for all your groups, an OU or your entire domain. And if you had secondary domains, you can select from one of those. In this case, the group, I'm not sure if I have a research group, but I do have a marketing group. I think I put this person in the marketing group by mistake, but we'll just go ahead and run with it. I'm selecting this group and any members within that group. So I'm going to go and hit next. Now I can run this on a schedule if I'd like. And this came up because of the scheduling switch that I flipped in the beginning. You can have it run different days of the week, days of the month, or monthly. We're going to go ahead and run this. I'll just do select every day, and I can have this run multiple times throughout the day, maybe 2 a.m., 9 a.m., and so forth. You can set this up however often you need to run it. So that way, if changes are made, it can go ahead and run and changes will be updated. Next, we're going to go ahead and get to the last page, the review section, where you have a chance to review your settings. And then I like to flip this over to yes, run contact sync immediately after saving. If you're still just testing it and configuring and you want to get back to, just hit no. It'll show up on your list behind this screen, this window, and you'll have a chance to go back in and finish it up when you're ready. But in this case, I am ready. So I'm going to hit submit. All right, we'll give that a chance to run. So the expected result is this group, and the 100 contacts within it should be recreated here in just a moment. It does take a while, also depending on the size of the contacts within the group. So we'll go ahead and refresh. And so you can see that it has been now created. So this is what the user will see. They'll have automatic access to all of these contacts. And yeah, any changes made from the source will be synced here automatically. So that's the contact sync tool. Now I'm just going to move on to the next section, and we're going to be talking about signature templates. It's located in tools under signature templates. On the main page, you'll see a list of templates that have previously been configured. We have the name of the template, the time, the date it was created, and the time it was last run. And once again, always good to put in a description. Only one person has done that so far. If you want to see how a template's configured, simply click on it. It'll bring up a preview of what this template's configuration looks like and give you an idea of what you've got in there. You can go into any of these and edit them and change things up. I'm actually going to stick to our use case here. And our use case is that the marketing team wants to update the images and add links to complement their advertising campaign. So for that, I'm going to go ahead and use an existing template here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the checkbox, and it's going to open up this access to this tool. It's a pencil. So click there. And now you don't have to start from scratch. You can see this one's already made, and we're just going to add another image, and we'll make that image into a link, and I'll show you how to do that. But just as a recap, the section appears to build the custom schemas from these drop-down menus. When you have the schema that you would like, you would drop your cursor anywhere here. When you click add, that schema will be built. For example, when you scroll down, this is your preview area to preview what it's going to look like to the user. So for an example, I'm going to add an extra line. We have job title here. You can see that a line was created, an extra space was created there. I'm going to add, let's see, I'll add in my phone number. Let's see if I have filled this out. When I choose phone number, it changes my options and I have access to all of these different phone numbers. This does rely on me having configured this in my profile section. So if any of these is blank are blank, then you'll actually not produce any results. But I believe my phone number is in there. So I'm going to hit phone main. I have my cursor right there, and I'm going to hit add, and you should see the phone number appear right here. So that's how most of this signature template was built. You can also just type in static things if you'd like. Type in demo, and you can see that it shows up. So you can type, you can use the schemas, and if you'd like to, you can hit this button towards the end to toggle between back and forth between that view and the HTML view. If you're more comfortable with updating the HTML, you can do so there. Okay, so the task at hand is to update our image and then create a link. So we're going to do that now. I'm just going to grab this image here and delete it. You can see on the preview, it gets deleted. So I'm going to drop in a new image, and let me grab that. All right. Your image does have to be hosted somewhere online. We recommend hosting it at your website's server, like we have done here. We've hosted it at Promevo in one of our image folders. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put my cursor down wherever I'd like the image to be. So right there is fine. And I'm going to choose this button here, insert image. And now I've already copied the URL, so I'm just going to paste it in. And make sure the beginning part has your HTTPS up there. Go ahead and hit OK, and the image should appear. If I wanted to link perhaps our Promevo website to this image, I can go ahead and do that. Let me see. To do that, I would highlight the image, click generate link, and then enter the website here. So anyone who clicks on this image now will be directed to our Promevo website, or you can also highlight any other section here and create links for any other images or words that you have. I'm going to go ahead and apply this to our test user. This is this test user here. You can see when they compose a message, they so far have no signature applied to them. So I'm going to go back here. This is I'm happy with this template. We'll say I'm happy with this template. I'm going to go ahead and save that here. And now I'm going to go ahead and apply it to my target. Let's see. We'll go ahead and put the checkbox. We'll find it on our list here, check the box, and hit the clock icon to schedule this. So we're going to go through the steps here. We're going to do a manual run. We're not going to set a schedule, but you can set a schedule if you'd like, and it would operate in the same way as in our previous example. And you have the ability to act on all of their send as addresses or just their default addresses or their primary. We'll just do all for this example. Let's go to the next screen. We have a warning here. Please make sure to read that and then go on. Targets. So who are we targeting? We can target individual users, but again, I would like to target the same group I had targeted before, which is the marketing group. So anybody in the marketing group, but right now there's only one person. We're going to go ahead and go forward. You have the ability to send an email notification if you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and skip this, but it's optional, but you can if you'd like to. And then you have a chance to review. And then I'm going to once again hit immediately run after saving. Yes. And this should be applied immediately. All right. So we have a message indicating that it's running. Let's head up to our test user up here. We'll compose a message. Nothing yet. So let's give a quick refresh. So now you can see that the signature is applied to this person. It's got their information, their phone number, and so forth. And if I was to, you can't click on it now. Only the recipient of this message will be able to click on the link. So I'm going to send the message to myself and show you what that looks like. We're sending that off. Head over to my account here. We'll wait for it just a moment to be delivered. All right, so I've just received the message. I'm going to click on it. I forgot to put an actual body of the message. I can see the image here, and if I click on it, I will be redirected to the link that I put in there earlier. All right, so that is a little bit on how to do those 3 different automations in gPanel. Let us know if you have any questions, and be happy while we're in gPanel to go over these 3 or any other questions you might have. Just let us know.
Thanks a lot, Mark. These are really cool. And I think automation is really a big distinguishing factor for gPanel in the sense of you can really cut down and schedule things. Like you can cut down on your day-to-day routines and having to apply email signatures or having to like share contacts out. This is just the kind of the tip of things too. There's onboarding, there's decommissioning, there security checks, Gmail checks, like all of these things are possible to automate within gPanel. Fairly quiet crowd today as far as questions, but we did have a few that came in advance. I think just off the top, Mark, one that I'm curious about, and I'm going to go ahead and switch over so we know we're formally talking about questions here. The one that I'm curious about there's really 3 primary tiers of gPanel. Like, what are some of the automation options that are available on starter and on standard and then on enterprise? Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't cover that in the presentation, but it's important to know, and it's important to see which edition you have and what edition you may need if you need to access some of these automations. So in gPanel, you will not have access to the decommissioning automation. You'll still have access to all policy automations, new user creation automations, the drive sweep tool that we went over, and contact sync, and the signature template. But all of those have a limitation of the ability to apply them to your targets of 50 users at a time. So if you have more than 50 users, you will have to run it multiple times or run it on a schedule in order to have it pushed out to everybody. Yeah, so that limitation on the number of users and the limitation on not having the decommissioning automation at all. If those two things are things that you need, you will want to consider moving up to gPanel standard. And in standard, you do have access to the decommissioning tool, decommissioning automation, as well as all of the others. And then you don't have a limit on on the number of users you can apply this to. You can apply it to as many users as you have in your organization. And then in the gPanel Enterprise Edition, we have the added automation of we have gPanel APIs, which gives you the ability to kick off automations in third-party software. So we you'd have the ability to create an API with say like the onboarding or offboarding. And if you choose to run that in a third party, maybe HR software instead, you would take that API, you would utilize it in the third party. And if you kick things off in the third party, once it hits the API, that will trigger the gPanel automation. So you have that in the Enterprise Edition. And then what we have coming soon, as Brandon alluded to earlier in the presentation, we will have the rules engine, which would act as if this happens, then that happens sort of automation. And it's going to be very nice. We'll go into detail about it in the coming sessions, but that would be an additional sort of automation for you in enterprise only.
That's right. And you just answered the next question, which is, hey, can gPanel integrate with other third-party tools? And essentially, more so than gPanel, it's can your Google Workspace integrate with these other tools? And that's what gPanel enables. But it's available on gPanel Enterprise. And as you mentioned, Rules Engine is available on gPanel Enterprise. We're going to have an in-depth walkthrough of that in August. If you want to see the API, how that works, and get some examples around that, I'm going to point everyone back to the May edition, which has a pretty in-depth walkthrough of those APIs, how to set them up, and we paint the picture on some of what's possible. And it's pretty incredible. But yeah, essentially, like regardless of what edition of gPanel you're using, you're going to get some of these functions. There are limitations on certain ones. There's limitations around how many people get it, but essentially, just getting in the door with gPanel will open up a whole world of functionality to you. That's it for our questions. I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Just before we go, everyone that's watching this today and in the future, you can sign up. You can get all of our newsletters in your inbox. You can get all of our release notes in your inbox. You can hear about new features as soon as they're released. There's 2 links here. Again, this presentation will be shared with everybody. Go up and sign up for our newsletter. Go ahead and sign up for our office hours webinars. That's going to keep you up to date on everything. Like I mentioned, our development team is building some wild stuff in gPanel, and they're shipping new features and functions almost on a daily basis, while also spending a lot of time on very big, important, what I think are like pretty groundbreaking capabilities like the rules engine. Coming up in 1 month, we are going to spend some time talking about delegations. This is being able to like move functions around, being able to, whenever someone exits your organization, being able to delegate assets and groups and contacts, things like that. Some of the stuff that we looked at today, we're going to go into that. Pretty significant, which with the amount of turnaround that happens at most organizations today. August, instead of contact sync like we had previously planned, we're going to go into the rules engine. That's going to be a big one. I promise we'll do a little bit more on contact sync. In fact, Mark did a pretty good demo of that today. If you want content around that, you can go to our knowledge base on promevo.com. We've got articles around it. We've got tutorials, but we'll put together a little short video explaining how to do it. And then on September 10th is billing. So you can actually control a lot of your Google, your users, your Google Cloud products from within gPanel. So we're going to go into those functions in September. After that, we don't have a specific topic planned. How gPanel office hours evolves is up to you. So I'm going to go back a slide and I'm going to highlight this particular email, updates@promevo.com. These go directly to myself. If you have ideas like, hey, I want to see this covered, or can you do a tutorial on this, or can you just help get someone on the phone with me to help me with this particular aspect of gPanel, this is the place to go if you want to talk directly to us. I see them, I will respond, and we'll make sure that like we're covering things that you're interested in. But again, like this is a function to serve you, the gPanel users, and the gPanel community. So we want to make sure that we're staying on top of what you're interested in and giving you the best resources possible. So with that being said, if you're not using gPanel today, go to promevo.com/gpanel and you can get the whole process kick-started. We'll give you a demo. We'll walk you through it, help you set it up. In the meantime, all of these are available on demand for you. We'll send this one to your inbox so you can review at your leisure. Thank you, those of us in the background, Wes, helping out behind the scenes. Mark, as always, greatly appreciated. Thank you for
Anytime.
all of your patience and tutorials. And everyone else, we will see you soon. Thank you so much for coming today. Bye now.
Thank you.